Thank you very much for that introduction and welcome. First off, it's great to see so many of you here tonight, some of which I know personally, and it's not the greatest weather out there, so it's fantastic to see you come out tonight. As already been said by Noel and Alan, it's my pleasure to outline to you where we are at with planning for Weekend 1 of the Bicentenary to be held later this year. Weekend 1 is currently scheduled for Friday the 8th to Monday the 11th of December. Before I provide more specific details, I would like to acknowledge all those people who have already been involved in planning for Weekend 1. My role is one of coordination, and I am part of the Bicentenary Planning Committee. There are many others who are actually doing all the background work and preparing to implement our plans. Special note to thanks Noel, who helped me with this talk as well. The significance of the Cole River as a crossing place and the Richmond Bridge cannot be understated. It was therefore decided that Weekend 1 should coincide with the 200th anniversary of the laying of the Richmond Bridge foundation stone. As I'm led to understand, the bridge was constructed over Tasmanian Aboriginal fords, and therefore a parade along Bridge Street and a walk across the bridge provides an opportunity to acknowledge those who have crossed the river before the bridge, as well as the subsequent development of the Cole River Valley more generally. This leads me to detail, as best I can, what's planned for the parade, together with other projects and activities over the long weekend, 8 to 11 December. I need to point out that these plans are fluid and may be subject to change for a whole variety of reasons. However, at this stage, a parade through the township is planned for Sunday, 10 December 2023 as the main event for the Bicentenary launch weekend. As Noel's already alluded to, the parade will involve, we hope, local community and sporting groups, schools, vintage machinery and passenger cars, and will be based on groupings of 20 decades since bridge construction commenced, relevant to transport for each decade. A parade will commence at the corner of Bridge Street and the Richmond bypass. I think some of you know this as Ryan's Corner, at 10 a.m. and will conclude at 11:30 a.m. at the eastern side of the Richmond Bridge. The vehicles will leave the parade prior to travelling over the bridge, joining a static display of work vehicles being held up at the Richmond Rec Ground and passenger vehicles at the Village Green Richmond Municipal Park. As far as practicable, vehicles will be sourced from the local area. We've already had some discussions in that regard, but if you know of old and interesting vehicles in the valley, please let us know. Walking will feature in the initial section of the parade, with recognition including the period from the first British visits and the preceding millennia. From the 1820s, each decade will include work and passenger vehicles, up to 3 of each, subject to availability. Of particular note, and I'll talk about this a bit later, we hope to include animals as part of the parade, who obviously formed a large part of transportation and farming throughout the earlier decades. Obviously weren't too many cars around in the 1850s or 40s or 30s. In consultation with our schools, we are hoping that the children will be involved in designing and making banners for each of the decades. The banners, for example, may relate to events, challenges, achievements and characteristics for each decade. We also hope the sporting community clubs and associations will participate in the parade with their own banners. Music will be a part of the parade and will be provided by the Clarence City Band, and we're hoping to have a children's choir across both schools. People who have been watching the parade will be invited to join it as it passes, in accordance with appropriate safety measures of course, and to walk the street and over the bridge. A brief ceremony on the riverbank near St John's will conclude the parade. This will include recognition of Mirramina people and contemporary Tasmanian Aboriginal elders, the anniversary of the bridge foundation stone and the official Bicentenary launch. To enable the parade to proceed, it will be necessary to close various roads into the township. This will be planned on basis of minimising disruption to visitors, local businesses and residents. It's important to note that this will be a rolling road closure. As the parade passes each street, the roads will reopen as is able. We'll also make arrangements to make sure emergency vehicles are still able to gain access to our residents as may be required. Some other launch events. There will be an exhibition of portraits of Mummiramina and Oyster Bay people connected to the early Richmond courthouse, an exhibition of artworks depicting the bridge in the supper room, and contemporary art project in the railway ticket box next to Lafayette in Bridge Street. As Noel, I think, alluded to earlier, if you own an artwork depicting the bridge or know someone who does, please let us know. A special music concert is planned for Saturday night, 9 December. The involvement and support of the local community will be essential if the event is to be a success, so it's really great to see you here tonight. We will be calling on local volunteers for help. As you can imagine, a parade of this size will require many helpers. When the exact nature of the help we need becomes clearer, we will let you know how you can be involved. Please add your details. I think there's a stay in touch sheet that will be passed around somewhere. You might be interested to know we've already had a number of challenges that have arisen so far. There will be considerable costs involved, including insurance and for the required road closure. Council's ongoing support will be essential to help meet these costs. And I thank Councillor Chong, she's certainly very much behind that. In regard to insurance specifically, one interesting issue that has arisen relates to actually finding an insurer for an event that may include animals. For example, horses and bullocks. Clearly, insurers see this as a higher risk activity, but we're currently working through these issues with a resolution expected shortly. I think some of you, I think there was an incident in Queensland in the Magic Millions barrier draw or something where the horses got away and tore off through the beach and through the streets and the pram and baby, and it got pretty messy. So I think the insurers probably rightly are somewhat nervous about it, but we think we can manage that. So we'll see how we go. The road closures will be expensive, as they need to be managed by professionals in this field to mitigate risk. We've already had discussions with providers and a successful outcome is anticipated. Parking is another major issue, as I'm sure all of you would agree, and plans are underway to determine how best to manage the expected, we hope, influx of visitors. This could, for example, include shuttle bus runs from the Richmond Rec Ground, but we are obviously working through that at the moment. A detailed marketing communications plan in the lead up to the event is being prepared. This will include more detailed information for our residents and businesses about some of the issues I've already mentioned, including the parking, road closures and specific times and locations of events. In conclusion, I would just like to thank all those individuals and groups involved so far in the journey to deliver weekend one of the Bicentenary. Some of these include the local schools, veteran car and motorcycle clubs, Hobart Vintage, Machine Society, the Clarence City Band, Clarence Council and of course the Richmond Planning Bicentenary Committee. Thank you all for listening and again for coming. And I sincerely hope, I'm very passionate about this town, I hope this weekend one proves to be exciting for our locals and visitors, and one the township can be very proud of. Thank you very much.